These are the co-op games on Quest 3 and 3S that are actually worth organizing people around right now. From 2-player campaigns to 8-player puzzle nights. And because player counts can be weirdly misleading, I'll tell you exactly what each game supports as we go. Let's start with the newest release on the list because it immediately earned a place near the front of the queue. RoboQuest VR turns an already brilliant run-based shooter into a 2-player VR campaign where movement matters as much as aim. You're sliding, jumping, choosing upgrades, and trading weapons while the rooms keep getting faster and more dangerous. Co-op isn't a side mode either. Both players share campaign progress, you can revive each other, and joining is easy through quick play, invites, or a room code. It also has crossplay between Quest, Steam VR, and PlayStation VR 2. Just remember that means the VR versions, not the original flat-screen game. If you want something current, mechanically sharp, and built for reliable 2-player co-op, start here. If your group is bigger, Dungeons of Eternity is still one of the safest recommendations on Quest, and it now supports 4 players, not just 3. Every run drops your party into a new dungeon full of skeleton, traps, loot, and moments where somebody will absolutely throw an axe past your head. The combat has enough physicality to make every weapon feel different, while permanent upgrades give the group a reason to keep returning. Private rooms use codes, and Quest can now play with the Steam version. It's ideal for friends who want immediate action without learning a giant rule set first. For the group that does want the rule set, Demio X Dungeons & Dragons Battle Marked is the campaign night option. 1 to 4 players move miniatures across a living tabletop, combine class abilities, and work through an authored story campaign without needing somebody to be the dungeon master. It launched with 2 campaigns and has already expanded with another adventure. Crossplay reaches well beyond VR, so friends on Quest can join people playing on PC, PlayStation, or even Switch too. It's slower and more deliberate than the action games here, but that's the appeal. Every turn gives the whole table something to argue about. Titan Isles goes in the opposite direction. This is a 1 to 4 player action campaign built around 4 exosuits, each with its own weapons and traversal style. One player might be grappling through the air while somebody else is holding the line on the ground, and the giant machine bosses give the team a clear target to coordinate around. Drop-in co-op and crossplay between Quest, Steam VR, and PlayStation VR make it flexible, while the movement keeps it from feeling like another corridor shooter. It's a strong choice for experienced VR players, although anyone sensitive to fast aerial movements should ease in carefully. Into Black is for the group who wants a proper beginning-to-end adventure. Up to 4 players can play through its entire story campaign, mixing firefights with mining, exploration, upgrades, and large alien environments. The host will need to clear the opening mission before friends can join, and sessions are arranged through room codes rather than public matchmaking. That makes it better for a regular group rather than a random lobby. Once you're in though, the roughly 10-hour campaign gives everyone an actual journey to finish instead of another disconnected set of arenas. Then there's Hellsweeper VR for the friend group that thinks normal movement is too boring. Up to 3 players can sprint along walls, flip through the air, combine weapons with magic, and build increasingly ridiculous loadouts across roguelite runs. Public rooms are available, and crossplay connects Quest, Steam VR, and PlayStation VR 2. The 2.0 update also pushes the game well beyond its rougher launch state. This is one of the deepest combat systems on the list, but it's also the most intense. So if smooth locomotion already turns your stomach, do not let the backflips be your opening move. Deadly Delivery is what happens when a delivery job becomes a 4-player horror comedy. Your team enters hostile facilities, hauls packages back to the truck, meets the quota, and spends the money on gear that might keep the next run from collapsing. Proximity chat and physical teamwork turn simple jobs into chaos, especially when a creature can imitate a teammate. Public lobbies exist, but the game is much better with people you already know. It also supports Quest and Steam VR crossplay, so this is the pick when your group wants scares without committing to a long story campaign. Green Hell VR takes cooperation more seriously. 2 to 4 players can tackle the full story or survival mode together, and the jungle keeps creating jobs that genuinely matter. Find clean water, build shelter, hunt, treat wounds, and stop the least careful member of the group from becoming a medical emergency. The Quest version is its own streamlined build, so don't assume it matches every feature from the PC VR or flat-screen games. And crossplay with the other VR platforms hasn't been confirmed yet. But for a private Quest group that wants survival mechanics instead of a shooting gallery, this is the demanding option. Medieval Dynasty slows things down and turns survival into something more constructive. Up to 4 players can explore, craft, build a village, and work through quests in the same hosted world. The real co-op pleasure is specialization. One person can gather, another can build, and somebody can disappear into the forest for 20 minutes because they found a better place for a farm. The game has moved well past the earlier co-op build and continues to receive substantial updates. Just decide who will host before the group invests heavily, because the settlement is tied to that host world. Guardian's Frontline earns its place by letting you fight on two scales at once. One moment you're firing a rifle in first person, the next you're placing units, vehicles, and defenses like a real-time strategy game. The campaign and community missions support up to 4 players with full crossplay, and a 2026 update made the user-built campaigns easier to share. That gives it far more runway than a fixed set of missions. If your group likes tactical shooters but also wants somebody to make the bigger battlefield decisions, this hybrid has no close substitute on the list. Arizona Sunshine 2 keeps the pitch simple. It's a full 2-player zombie campaign. The full story supports a second player, while Horde mode expands up to 4. Cross-platform multiplayer makes it easier to pair Quest with other VR platforms, and the campaign has enough dialogue, set pieces, and weapons interactions to feel like a complete road trip rather than a stack of wave maps. It doesn't have the buildcraft of RoboQuest or the survival pressure of Green Hell. What it offers is clarity. Bring one friend, load the campaign, and start dismembering zombies. Ancient Dungeon looks a bit childish at first, but the lo-fi blocks hide some of the best physical roguelite combat on Quest. Up to 4 players can explore randomized floors, chase permanent unlocks, and combine relics into builds that get stronger as the run continues. There's no public matchmaking, so make sure to arrive with a group. And platform support is less universal than some of the other crossplay games here. The payoff is a dungeon crawler that feels rougher and more improvised than Dungeons of Eternity. Throwing a knife, bouncing it off a wall, and somehow surviving is very much part of the charm. When the group wants puzzles instead of weapons, Escape Simulator is the most flexible package. It supports cross-platform online co-op between Quest and Steam players, including flat screen and VR, and rooms can hold up to 8 people, even though 2 or 3 is the sweet spot if you want anybody to hear themselves think. The environments are packed with objects to inspect, locks to decode, and clues that make more sense when different people are looking at different corners of the room. This is the large group recommendation that still gives everyone a shared objective. VR Giants builds an entire 2-player campaign around unequal roles. One player is Goliath, a giant who can move huge obstacles and create paths. The other is David, a tiny platforming character who can reach places the giant can't. The Quest release supports crossplay with Steam and includes a free Friends Pass, so only one person needs to actually buy the game. It's still marked early access and requires a fairly active play space. But the roughly 8-hour campaign makes the co-op more substantial than a single party game gimmick. Dimensional Double Shift brings the casual chaos, and it's free, so there's a bonus for you right from the get-go. Up to 4 players use hand tracking to run an interdimensional diner and garage, fixing vehicles, preparing orders, and trying to survive an AI manager with unreasonable expectations. Because it's built around hands rather than controllers, it's immediately legible to newer players, and also very easy to sabotage by accident. The game remains in early access, but continued updates, including a new world in 2026, give this free download much more substance than it had at launch. Finally, Elsewhere Electric solves a different problem: 2 people with only one headset. The VR player explores a strange facility while the second player uses a free phone app to read different information and operate connected systems. Neither side has the whole solution, so communication is the game. The setup does have a bit of friction. There's no built-in voice chat, so remote partners need a separate call and the onboarding can be pretty thin. But if you want a genuine asymmetric puzzle night without buying a second Quest, nothing else here quite works the same way. And remember, you can get 10% off any of these games using code VRM at checkout on the Meta Store. That gives you fast roguelites, full campaigns, survival sandboxes, tabletop tactics, horror, and puzzles. But every pick asks the group to do more than simply occupy the same server. If I had to narrow it down to 3 starting points, choose Dungeons of Eternity for 4-player action, RoboQuest VR for a 2-player challenge, or Escape Simulator for a mixed platform puzzle night. And if there's another Quest co-op game your group keeps returning to, share it in the comments, because that's the part a storefront page never really explains. I'll catch you soon, guys. Cheers!